What is going on, everybody? TC here with Smoky Mountain Guns and Ammo, SMGA.com. Today, it's all about that 5.7. Let's do it. That's right. Today we're talking about the 5.7, where it come from, why it was created, why all of a sudden we're seeing so many new firearms on the market chambered in 5.7. To look at 5.7 though, we have to take a trip back in time. In the late 80s, early 90s, NATO went to FN, among other manufacturers, and asked them all to create a round that was going to outperform 9mm. Now, we got to think about when this comes along time-wise. So you're talking about just a few short years after the shootouts where 9mm was determined to be inferior and not effective. So, obviously, as a result of that, 40 Smith & Wesson was created for law enforcement here in the United States. 40 Smith & Wesson was out as far as NATO was concerned. They didn't really like the round, so they wanted something that would perform better ballistically. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, but H&K actually came out with the, I believe it was 4.6 by 30mm, and FN came out with the 5.7 by 28mm right here. Now, NATO specifically asked for a round that could be chambered in handguns as well as PDWs. And they wanted it for use in military and law enforcement around the world. And they wanted it to be able to be easily concealable and easily carried. So, essentially, what FN came up with was a smaller rifle round. If you look at this cartridge, and we're going to take a look at it up close here, you will notice that the round greatly resembles like a 5.56 or a 2.23 round. It resembles a rifle round, except in a shorter, package, a shorter form factor. So it is a bottleneck cartridge, much like the rifle rounds that we know. And ballistically, so that's kind of the thing behind this. So it's similar in length to a 22 Magnum right there. Penetration is going to be much greater on this round. Also, when hitting targets, it's going to slow down much faster because of how light the round is. This one in particular is coming in with a 40 grain projectile, so it's going to slow down much faster than, say, a 119 or 145 grain projectile out of a 9mm. So this was developed, like I said, in conjunction with the FN P90. The P90 was built around this weapon. And then later on, the FN 5.7 comes out. And I gotta say, like, for me as like a dude in my early 20s playing Call of Duty, I can remember when this gun was made popular and made standard. And that's when it actually came out in Call of Duty. I believe it was Black Ops 2. Maybe it was the original Black Ops, but I don't remember exactly. But that's what really got this firearm on my radar. Now, I'd obviously seen the P90 and the PS90, which was the civilian version at that point. But really, really cool firearms that were very innovative at the time and very futuristic, especially with this to go along with it. Now, in the early 2000s, NATO conducted their own testing of the rounds that were submitted. The 4.6 by 30 submitted by H&K, and the 5.7 by 28 submitted by FN. And in their testing, they found that the 5.7 undoubtedly outperformed the 4.6 by 30. However, the Germans didn't like that outcome and didn't accept it. So, this round being accepted, standardized by NATO, was put on hold because not everyone was in agreement until 2021. That's important because a lot of people have been asking why all of a sudden we're getting new firearms created in 5.7. Now, that's not to say that there wasn't any. So there's a few companies, Masterpiece Arms in particular, also CMMG with their Banshee, have been creating firearms in 5.7, but as far as the big heavy hitters in the gun industry, Smith & Wesson, Ruger, those companies, nobody was really making anything in 5.7 because largely the rounds were really expensive. It is important to note that because of its shape and it being very similar to the rifle rounds of the time, very similar to 5.56, it could be easily produced in the same production lines. Their same equipment would produce this round that was already producing their rifle round. So that was also very important for its affordability. Now, it's also important to note ballistically what this thing is capable of. So let's take a look at some of the testing. So as we look at this round, according to NATO, the requirement, they wanted the new cartridge to have a greater range, accuracy, and terminal performance than the 9x19 cartridge. And they also wanted it to have the ability to penetrate body armor. This round right here, out of a P90, so with a little bit longer barrel, obviously, but out of a P90, was able to penetrate level 3A body armor at 200 meters, 219 yards. All right, that's very significant when you're talking about engaging an enemy at that kind of distance and having that ability to defeat level 3A body armor. That's huge. When they did their testing, the NATO group cited superior effectiveness, 27% greater, to be more specific, against unprotected targets, and equal effectiveness against protected targets. This round also had less sensitivity to heat, and it showed less potential risk of barrel erosion than the 4.6x30. Therefore, that's why this one was ultimately accepted. However, the German delegation and a few others rejected that recommendation. And so for a long time, both the 5.7 and the 4.6 were used by their respective countries as military service weapons. Another really, really important aspect of this is capacity. So when you're talking about military engagements, higher capacity and not sacrificing weight is going to be paramount. So the 5.7 cartridge roughly weighs about 2/3 as much as a typical 9x19. So you're talking about a decent amount less weight, and because of how small of a diameter this round is, you're talking about a much higher capacity. You look at this FM57 pistol. This is a typical full-size pistol right here. Very similar to a Glock 17. Going to have a little bit taller, grip right there, a little bit wider grip right there, front to back. But overall, going to be a very comparable size. And you're talking about fitting anywhere from, like in this Ruger magazine right here, 20 to 22, 23 rounds, 22 in this Smith & Wesson, 22 in the FM57, in a standard size. And again, this is the Smith & Wesson right here, going to be a normal full-size duty pistol right there. And you're fitting 22 rounds of something that is capable of better accuracy and longer range and armor penetration. In this standard size. Also a very slim package too. So as far as effectiveness, that's huge. And then of course you see the specialized magazines that were created. Now this is the Kel-Tec right here, the Kel-Tec P50. And it uses the same magazines as the FN P90 or PS90. This magazine holds 50 rounds right here. And it's a very interesting design that was designed around the 5.7 round. So the rounds stack up, and I'm not going to demonstrate because of YouTube, but the rounds stack up just like this in the magazine, all the way down the line here. And then once they reach this point down here, they actually get turned and the next round in gets turned part of the way, and then the next one gets turned all the way right there to where it is ready to be chambered into the chamber of the firearm. Brilliant design, and also good on Kel-Tec for designing a gun around that magazine, which has already been, so widely used. So really cool design. That is one of the firearms. So this one come out sometime around 2017-ish, maybe a little bit after that, maybe 2018. You're talking about the Smith & Wesson M&P 5.7 coming out just this year in 2023. You've got the Ruger 5.7 that come out just last year or 2 years ago. And we've got several different versions of these. So these are building off of that cartridge. And also, like I said, this round was just adopted in 2021 officially as a standard cartridge for NATO. That's huge. And then another really cool thing is you've got companies like Ruger here making their 5.7 pistol. And to go along with it, their LC carbine, which subsequently takes the same magazines as the pistol. And that's a really, really cool concept right there. So, and a lot more companies have been doing this. But you see a carbine like this taking the same magazines as the pistol, so you can interchange those, and that's a good setup right there, a good package. You don't have to buy, different magazines for this, different magazines for this. You can keep the same ones loaded, and based on what your needs are, you can use either platform. That's incredible versatility and great thought out planning right there from the company. So that's kind of the development behind 5.7, and also why we're all of a sudden seeing more firearms and more widely known and widely produced firearms in that caliber. Now, do you have any experience with 5.7? Do you carry it? Do you have it in any firearms? What do you think of it? We want to know down in the comments below. I really dig it, and I love seeing new companies and new firearms using this round, because I think that this is a really cool round and a really versatile round as well. And I just love seeing more and more new firearms chambered in really cool calibers like 5.7. Let us know if you like this series in the comments down below. Let us know if you have any experience with 5.7, what you think of it. And also let us know what caliber you want to hear about next, because we really dig informing people and showing people not only the firearms we have in these calibers, but also where these calibers come from, why they were created, because that ultimately gives us an idea of what they're good for. As always, folks, it's been me, TC, here with Smoky Mountain Guns and Ammo. And folks, remember, stay prepared. We'll see you right back here next time.